Greetings, everyone. All right, all right, all right. This is going to be a Matthew McConaughey podcast. I got so many things to talk about. I don't even know where to begin. Um, let's see. Let's start with a couple. Let's start with that board meeting. The last board meeting I did. It was a joint meeting between them and the planning commission, and they talked about roundabouts in the county. They talked about a cell tower in the county. It was interesting stuff. I guess if it was put in more layman's terms, because a lot of it I didn't understand, and I really need to watch over it a couple more times to get a grip on it. But it was hard for me to pay attention, and I didn't really do it service by regurgitating for you in simple terms what it was, because quite frankly, I couldn't pay attention. It didn't hold my attention. Let's put it that way. There's so much stuff in these meetings that are difficult for me to hold my attention. Anyway, I hope you watch it and hope you digest some of it. But that's the gist of what I got. It's about roundabouts and about a cell tower. So that was last night's board meeting. Another blog I posted, it was really brief. I wish I could have done it longer, was about the high school. For anybody watching this who's not from around here, and there's a few of those, we built a brand new high school that opened this year. And they spent a lot of money on it, and it's beautiful. And I've been in part of it, and it's great, and it has a lot of stuff the kids needed. And they built it basically in the front yard of the old high school. My understanding was the old high school was in a flood zone, and they were having problems with molding and flood. So I guess this one was past the parking lot up on the hill, so they're not going to have those problems, hopefully. And at one point, I thought they were going to turn the old school into some kind of a sports complex or something. I'm not exactly sure what's happening with it now. Maybe somebody can enlighten me, and I meant to ask and forgot. But what they've done is they've let people come in and take anything left, just take it for free. Now, I had a real problem with this, mainly because there were things there that I can't believe got left behind. There were trophies, and granted, a lot of them were broken, but they could have repaired them. Those were trophies they earned. I mean, there was dozens of them. It just broke my heart seeing that. There was kids' files. There were filing cabinets still filled with files. I went in two rooms. I went in the band room, and I went in the theater. I was hoping to find some costumes in the theater, but there was a lot of like set decoration stuff left, a lot of lighting, some other equipment. There was a couple there getting some things. I wasn't in there long because I was quite frankly tired out and depressed by the band room. But there were band hats, band uniforms, color guard uniforms, dance uniforms, and a lot of them I looked in perfect condition. I got about 30 or 40 CDs still in the packaging that were classical music, jazz, blues. There was some Christmas music still in the packaging now. Office supplies, tons of office supplies, shelving, chairs, a lot of office chairs, shelves, all the glass cases that the trophies were in, if somebody had a store and could get those. Now, when I got there, there was about 4 trucks that had those flatbed hauling things on the back of them. Some of them short, some of them really long. They were backed up to the front door. So obviously there was an intention to get a lot of stuff out of there. But what was upsetting and depressing to me was the fact that that much stuff got left behind. I know for a fact a lot of that stuff could have been used. Worst case scenario, it could have been auctioned. Why didn't y'all hold an auction? You could have had a live auctioneer in there doing it off for the public to recoup some of the taxpayer money that went into it. Or when the kids go out and sell things, their hard-earned money to buy equipment and uniforms or whatever. There was like clarinet pieces and trombone pieces, and it looked like a disaster site after a hurricane or a tornado. That's what it looked like to me. Seriously, there was so much stuff. There was an entire box, huge, filled with like custom-made water bottles. They were plastic. They weren't anything fancy, but still, why didn't those get brought to the new high school? Did they just say, screw it, let's scrap everything and start over new because we've got all this money? I don't know, man, but I grew up kind of poor. I raised my kids, I was poor. I put myself through school and started being a little more comfortable, not stressing if the power would get turned off every month. That was my rich lifestyle. Prior to that, it wasn't like that. So seeing waste and seeing, I can't even describe it. It's very upsetting to me. So I can only imagine what the rest of that entire high school looked like. And there was a window. Apparently they did it once before, but the first I'd heard of it was that Saturday they did it. And you had a window from 9 in the morning to 12 in the afternoon. I met a lady, brand new trash cans. One of them I got just to put some things I had gotten in it so I could wheel it out. And when I got to the parking lot, of course, I couldn't fit the trash can in my car, and I had some extra trash bags and stuff. And there was a lady in the parking lot, and she had a truck, and I said, do you want this? Because I can't carry it, and it'll help you carry stuff. She was so grateful. She was like, I just really want to get some things here because I can't believe they're just getting rid of all this. Again, desks, filing cabinet, shelves, everything. Just wow. So I think I'd really like to talk to somebody on the school board and find out why the decision was made just to make it a free-for-all and not auction or sell things. Even a salvage company would have come in and cleaned it out and paid for it, likely. And they're still going to have to pay somebody to clean up because, like I said, it looked like it was the aftermath of a tornado or a hurricane. So that was a mixed emotion event that I caught. I only live streamed for about 10 or 15 minutes. Oh, but the exciting thing is that I can live stream again. So now when I go out and do events, I'm going to start live streaming. I'm going to do it on my phone initially because now I've got to go back and revisit how to do it on the good cameras because I have things to do that with. I just didn't learn it enough before I had that big pause in my podcasting. So, so there you go. The high school thing. I also had a very interesting interview with a lady named Thirsty. She's the, I want to say executive director or the chairman of the board or something of the Southside Virginia Conservative Group or Conservative Party. Forgive me if I get the title wrong. Apparently what happened was here in Halifax County is part of Southside Virginia. We're basically central south right on the North Carolina border. Huge county. I think it's the second biggest in the entire state. Massive county. 50-something communities, of which I really need to get out there and start covering. There was a Democrat Party and there was a Republican Party. And apparently there was a rift in the Republican Party and the Conservative Party branched off from it. So they're about 30 people strong and she's the chair. And I did a really good interview with her. And it was funny because, quite frankly, when I went into it with the expectation of, oh, God, this is going to be so hard. And she's going to say things I disagree with and it's going to be difficult. But you know what? We have a lot in common. There's a couple things she said that rubbed me a little, but, I'm sure I've said things that rub people funny too. But we're going to meet again. This isn't the end of a relationship with her and this party. I'm not going to join the party or anything, don't get me wrong, but I do want to listen to them in hopes that, they would listen to other people too, because as I went to one of their meetings, but they had all this in-house stuff to do, so I didn't stay. But I'm going to go to the next meeting next week, and they've said I can film and I can interview to get more, because they were working on their bylaws or something. So we're going to plan that next month. But I did go in that interview a little fearful because you guys know, if anybody's paid any attention to things I've said, when you talk about a continuum of something and you have a liberal and a conservative, Republican, Democrat, whatever, there's this continuum. And meeting in the middle is what's important, I think. Now, there's certain things you can't meet in the middle of. I see this cult of personality in the Republican Party that I can't meet in the middle with that. These people in the Department of Justice that are covering up for pedophilia in this child trafficking ring. You guys know I've been screaming from the start for months about the Epstein files. I can't meet in the middle on that. If you think that's okay, I don't want to interview you or try to have this exchange of information. But these are the things we need to start doing. Like I said to the group when I introduced myself, I want to communicate. I want to build bridges. We're all in this boat together and we need to listen to each other. So it was a good interview and I hope you watched that. I'm still trying to get Mr. Ferguson, who is the chair of the Republican Party. I've left a couple messages and I'm waiting for him to get back with me. Because you know what I'd ultimately like to do? I've already interviewed Michelle of the Democrat Party, very lovely person. I'd like to get her, Thirsty, and Mr. Ferguson, the three of them together and do a round table. I just think that would be wonderful. I think it would be great for us to sit down and talk and work through some of these things because I've had misperceptions about conservative people. I'm not talking about the other end of the continuum. That is something the door is shut for me on. That I want to educate myself more, and there's people who have misperceptions about me and think things I believe in or whatever, and they need to educate themselves on where I'm coming from. So this is what I'm talking about. So I think that would be something awesome I would love to do. I really hope it eventuates. I've also made a point of trying to reach out and socialize, be friends, interview, engage with, interact, whatever you want to call it, with people who are of a different ideology than me. One of these is a local girl. She's one of the Board of Supervisors' daughter. And there's a lot of things that I've heard about her, and I wanted to investigate to see what my take of her was. And it's been hit and miss for a while, but we finally got together and we went to Badeau's. And they have karaoke night on Saturday night. And we have that in common. That was something we talked about during the election. I asked her what she was doing after her father won the Board of Supervisor election. And she said she was going home to karaoke. And I said, oh, I like to do that too. So we back and forth tried to get together to do that. And it finally happened. This is probably a week or two ago. And I want to talk about that night because it was a learning experience, I think, all the way around. It was pretty cool. First of all, she had family members there I didn't expect. Her father, who was on the Board of Supervisors, was in a band. I didn't know that. And it's just a lovely little singer. He's so shy and introverted. But seeing him get up there and sing did my heart good. That was really cool. And he sounded great. And of course, his wife was there. And there was two friends of hers that were there that liked karaoke. I got to meet them. That was nice. And my husband came to the party late because he was at work and didn't get off and didn't get there till late. So anyway, so it was a little table there. And one of the first things I noticed, the older I get, the less I like to go out. When I was young, I used to go out and party and drink and do all that stuff all the time, but I just don't do any of that anymore. You get old, you get tired, I guess. I don't know. I just don't have the patience for it, or the stamina. I like to go to bed early, 9, 10 o'clock. That's about my bedtime. So we go to Badeau's, and the first thing I noticed were tables. There was one big table, and there was black and white people sitting there together. And I was like, that's good, some diversity, because sometimes you might go somewhere, and it's either all white or all black. Or anyway, this was a pretty good mix. Then, as the karaoke proceeded, there was a little group of Mexican, Spaniards, I don't know, Latinos, and they even went up and sang some Spanish stuff. It was great. It was really great. They had so much fun and were so engaging. And my favorite was somebody named Lacey, who was a guy, and he was wearing silver boots, a little black mini skirt, makeup, a mustache, sunglasses, and a hat. And he was so funny and engaging and did a great job at the karaoke. He was entertaining. So the point being that this was the most unexpectedly diverse crowd that had so much fun. I didn't see any kind of judgy. I mean, somebody might have had a funny look on their face or, but there wasn't anything ugly or unkind that I saw. And it was just cool. And anyway, we all karaokeed and had fun and a good time. And the more I got to, more I was talking to this girl, the more I realized, yeah, we do have stuff in common. We didn't get into any, she said, I don't want to talk about politics that divides people. Okay, fine, fair enough. But like when Lacey got up there with his little skirt and boots on, she was like, yeah, just people have fun. That's really good. I like to see it. Music brings people together. And it was like, absolutely, because I said to her, I'm really shocked at the diversity here. And I agree 1,000%. Music brings people together. There's no judgment on it. So I really hope to develop this relationship because I want to get to know her better and I want to talk to her more about, because some of the things she posts on Facebook I so disagree with. She also has lambs, little baby lambs. She does farming stuff. I wonder if she'd sell one. I want a lamb in my backyard. I don't have to cut grass. Anyway, that's a side note. So that was a really good experience for me. And I want to have more experiences like this because I'm trying to move forward with an open mind and a attitude or sense of trying to educate others about me because I'm very, very, very different from people around here. I had another experience with an acquaintance of mine or friend, or I'm not quite sure what to call him yet. And apparently I said something to hurt his feelings and he was about to step back and I tried to talk it back in, which I did. And I think we're okay, but sometimes my sarcasm gets away with me and people take that something I might say is mocking them and it's not meant to hurt. But the whole idea of this particular situation with this person was I was trying to show the irony or the hypocrisy of religious ideology versus the reality of the actions of the person claiming to have the religious ideology. I see a huge hypocrisy there. And they took it personally, and I guess I overstepped with what I considered to be pointing out irony. Anyway, so it's all good. We talked further and moved past it. So I'm learning to be a little more cautious because I have been told by someone in this county that I'm a little bit intense, and I'm trying not to be. Once you get to know me, I'm fine. But I am very, very, very different from people around here. I don't believe the things a lot of these people believe. I don't have practices and hobbies that some of the people here do. But I'm very, very curious to get to know other people and what they do. As long as you're not a pedophile protector. I'm so grossed out over this whole Epstein situation. It's like dominoes falling. Why can't this country follow what the rest of the world's doing? Did you know the former prime minister of Norway has been arrested? Do you know how many people are stepping down from their jobs because of it? I feel like it's really going to explode even further in the coming months. And I don't feel good about what's going to happen in this country. My husband and I have often talked about moving because it's concerning. It's concerning. But there's also a lot of good things I'm seeing too, because I think the bottom line is how you treat people, and that should be with kindness and not judging them. All right, so moving on. So I talked about the high school. I talked about auctioning. I talked about one of my podcasts with the conservatives. I talked about a girl I met who's a conservative that we socialized. I'm reading my notes here and I'm like, money equals the motivator. What does that mean? Money is a motivator. What was I referencing? I don't know. But okay, the other two things I want to talk about is the website and the election. All right, so let me pull up this thing here. Okay, here we go. So here's the website. I just want to show you stuff I've put up here. We've got this Paint the Town Red on the 24th, self-care business brunch, and they're going to have a couple of guest speakers. We have this Viking festival. This looks really cool. I think I'm going to go to that. It's in Oxford, North Carolina, but you know, it's around. Then we have the concealed carry class. That looked interesting. That's on the 28th. The quarter place tribute. That's not until September, but it came up, so I added it. Then we have, oh, this I want to go to too. This is February 22nd. It's about the Beatles. Go back. Classical, Tidewater Classical Guitar Beatles Showcase. That's in Clarksville. That looks interesting. I wouldn't mind covering that. Then we have this Chinese New Year Moons meditation. I'm real eager to meet the instructor because, you know, I lived in China for so long. Go back. And that's on March 1st. On February 26th, is that this weekend? No, that's next weekend. No, what's today? Oh, go back. What is today? Today's Tuesday? Wednesday? Today's Wednesday. Yeah, today's Wednesday. So yeah, that'll be next weekend. The kickoff, go back, for the South Boston market season at the on Main Street. That would be good. And then we've got something on the 28th at the VIR. This is something about Winterfest. They're planning something for the kids at the high school. Go back. That's on March 6th. They're going to have an information meeting. We've got on April 11th a Star Party. I've been wanting to go to one of those for a while, and I haven't yet. This is something I put here just because I'm going. It's in South Hill. It's a Tease concert. I've been to it 2 or 3 times now, bought the T-shirts and everything. They're an 80s band, and they play all kinds of 80s rock music. It's great. And that's coming up soon. Oh, shoot, that's this weekend, February 21st. Then in March, we have another No Kings protest. That's going to be where the old Walgreens was in South Boston. I was the unicorn last time. It's great. I actually bought a megaphone for it this year. I'm excited about that. This looks interesting, calling all vendors for a Summerfest. The Virginia Auxiliary are calling people to participate. Go back. And you can get that QR code right there about being a vendor. It's happening in May. This is a new realty office is opening in South Boston. Their grand opening is Friday the 27th. I'm going to cover this as a podcast. It's right next to Paco's on Main Street, and it's Ken and Rhonda Buckley. Ken is also on our planning commissioner. He's a planning commission for the town of South Boston. Then this looks really interesting. Common Ground, bringing landowners and hunters together. It's a community forum designed to bring people together in a respectful, civil setting. I love how they have to preface it right away with that. Oops, sorry, I passed it. Go back. It's Tuesday, February 24th. I've asked them if I can bring cameras, but no one has answered me yet. But I'm going to try to be there. It is at the middle school, 6:30, Tuesday, February 24th. Here's another Starry Night public thing on March 20th. This is Fantasy Ball, May 30th. That looks interesting. A Race of Remembrance. That's not until November. 4th of July celebration. See, they're advertising already. Oops, do I have this up here twice? I think I do, but that's okay. Then we have Arts and Muses Renaissance Fair. It doesn't have yeah, there it is. Cage Trail, South Boston. And then we're back to the Paint the Town. I've got a few more things to add. Somebody, I think it was Tri-County, sent me a calendar that I have not got their events up yet. I need to do that. I'm just busy all the time. Busy. So that's what I've done new there. Now also, let's go to the homepage. Go back. All right, we're done here. So we want to, let me hit publish just to make sure this is all current, because I just added a couple of those, especially that landowner thing together. I'm curious to know what they're going to talk about. Is it going to be, things about solar farming or what? All right, so let me get back over here. Oh, what now? We need to hide this. See, I'm still remembering how to do all this. So we oh, that's me. I'm back again. All right. So that's the events. And also, I've added some new things to the front page, but I may have mentioned them in the last podcast. I've added the Dale Trent site, and I've added the Halifax County Sheriff. And again, complimenting what whoever's doing their social media is doing a great job. Why can't I get back to the homepage? Oh, because I'm not clicking the right thing. I'm silly. And I'm revamping the calendar. I'm trying to make it where it's public so that you can add events to it. But I'd really appreciate if people would send me flyers or emails at Halifacts Oasis, FACTS, gmail.com, and I'll get your stuff up here. I'm happy to do it. I don't advertise for businesses, so if it's like, come to our bar and drink and spend money, I'm not going to do that. You can do paid advertising. I have a place for paid advertising. If you want to utilize that, just contact me. But there's also a link to all the videos on here. We have a YouTube channel, and we have, of course, the Facebook page. So, what's the other thing? The election. This is what I want to talk about next. We have a special election coming up, and there's a lot of chitter-chatter about it. So, what's it going to be? Heather at the election office sent me some details, and I'm going to share those with you now. Okay, so what I've done is I've made a new slide on the homepage of my website, HalifaxOasis.com, FACTS. There's a tab. You just go down, there's a tab, and it says election. And I had on that, like the last election we had, all the results, what our districts are, who's in them. I think I need to update on that too. Just like I need to update the, the Excel file, the database that I have on here. I haven't updated that in a while. I need to do that. But anyway, so I'm adding this slide about this upcoming special election, and then we're going to talk about it. So let me click on this. No, I need to click on this. We need to unhide it and then transition. Okay, so Heather at the election office was kind enough to send this to me and remind me that this information needs to get out. So here's your sample ballot right here. Okay? Commonwealth of Virginia, County of Halifax, special election. It is Tuesday, April 21st, 2026. Making selections to vote on an issue, fill in the oval next to the yes or no. If you want to change the vote or you make a mistake, ask an election officer for another ballot. If you make marks on the ballot besides filling in the oval, your vote may not be counted. So you remember the little bubbles you fill out in school for testing and stuff? It's just like that. So the proposed constitutional amendment. The question, should the Constitution of Virginia be amended to allow the General Assembly to temporarily adopt new congressional districts to restore fairness in the upcoming elections while ensuring Virginia's standard redistricting process resumes for all future redistricting after the 2030 census? And then you would put your little mark here, either yes or no. And this is a ballot, blah, blah. So the most important things are here. Tuesday, April 21st is the special election. And this is the amendment and what you'll be voting yes or no on. Now, some people I know have no idea what we're talking about here. But this could be important in the upcoming midterm election in November. So let's break this down a little bit. And I wrote some notes here that I can, if I can get to them, that we can talk about. So this special election, it's a statewide referendum. You just saw a Halifax ballot, that's all. But it's a statewide referendum that is going to allow the General Assembly to redraw the state's congressional district map ahead of the 2026 U.S. House elections by temporarily amending the Constitution. Voters across Virginia will decide this question on the 21st of this year. So The special election ballot measure is proceeding, even though there's legal challenges to it. The amendment's procedural validity that will continue in court. The Supreme Court of Virginia has allowed this vote to go through, even while there's an appeal. Supporters argue that the change is needed to counter partisan redistricting actions in other states, while opponents contend it undermines Virginia's independent redistricting commission and voter-approved reform. So what does all this mean? And this is kind of what I've talked about, and I want to look, I hope I can find it. There's a lot of pro and con going up on Facebook. It's being seen as a red-blue issue. And it could very well be coming to that, if you want to simplify it. But the action has come about because Texas some time ago said they were going to redistrict and gerrymander so that they could have more Republican seats, because they're fearful they're going to lose the House, the House of Representatives in the November election when the midterms come up. So in order for the Republicans to maintain control, they want to do what they can to get more available or predictive seats for the Republican Party. So in Texas, they didn't put it up as a referendum to the people. They just were doing it. But I think that that's actually been disallowed now because they didn't have a statewide referendum. In other words, they didn't ask you, is it okay to do this? Do you want to do this? Next, after that, now that's before Texas changed back or whatever, California said, well, you know what? If you're going to start changing your House seats, we're going to do the same thing. But we're going to put a referendum out. We're going to ask the voter, what do you think about redistricting so that there's more congressional seats in the Democratic area or something? Look, I'm not an expert at this stuff. I try to explain it as I understand it, and my understanding's not 100%. But, so California was going to counter what Texas did, because Texas made this happen to get more seats. And that's true. I've read a lot about it. And what California's done is true. California would have more congressional seats than what Texas could have produced, so it would have outbalanced what Texas would have done. So that went to a vote. I think that's already happened. I should look it up. But anyway, so Virginia said, okay, we're going to do it. Now that Virginia is, the Democrats have all parts of the Virginia government. They've got the government, they've got, the state senate, state representatives, and the governor is a Democrat. She won. So they said, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to put this to a vote, a referendum, about redrawing district maps, because normally they only do it every 10 years after census. But that's part of what Texas did that was askew. They wouldn't wait. They want to do it before this election. It has happened before, like 40, 50 years ago or something. So it didn't set a precedent. Someone has drawn the maps early once before, and I think it was kind of the same thing. I'd have to look that back up again. I've read a lot about this. So Virginia has now said, all right, we're going to do the redistricting too, because we want to make this fair. And that's what's happening. I just wish Texas had never started this. If we could have just stuck to what everybody was doing, you wouldn't get to this point. So people are really mad. The Democrats are saying the Republicans are cheating. The Republicans are saying the Democrats are cheating, even though the Democrats are doing exactly what the Republicans did. I know how I'm going to vote, and I'm pretty sure I know how this county will vote. But I think overall, the state of Virginia is going to vote and approve this. So let's talk about the arguments for the amendment. One, it would counter partisan moves in other states. The advocates argue that if states like Texas redraw maps mid-decade to advantage the Republicans, then Virginia should have the flexibility to respond to protect Democratic representation at a national level. Two, It would be protecting congressional balance because the U.S. House majority is often decided by a handful of seats. Even a small map change can affect national control. Supporters say failing to act could disadvantage Virginia voters' influence in Congress. Number 3, it's temporary and limited. The proponents emphasize that the amendment is structured to expire after the 2030 census, after which Virginia's existing redistricting process would resume. And the 4th argument for the amendment would be legislative accountability. If the lawmakers draw the maps, voters can hold them accountable in the next election. Now, the arguments against the amendment: 1, it undermines voter-approved reform. In 2020, Virginians approved a constitutional amendment removing map drawing authority from legislators, and opponents argue that this referendum will reverse the reform for political reasons. 2, it reintroduces partisan gerrymandering. Returning power to the legislator risks maps drawn for party advantage rather than neutrality. Those are 2 good arguments. 3, it escalates the national arms race, which is what I just talked about. All the different states are going to change stuff so that one doesn't get an advantage off the other. I wish Texas had never started this. 4, institutional instability. Frequent constitutional changes can weaken public trust in the system and suggest the rules change when political control shifts. Another good argument. 5, the courts already provide oversight. If disputes arise, the current system allows judicial intervention through the Supreme Court of Virginia, which stepped in during the last redistricting cycle. So, I feel that the arguments against this amendment are stronger, but my personal emotion tells me that the arguments for it are stronger. I just have an incredible sense of fairness. And after Texas did this, I thought, that is so wrong. So when California and then Virginia said, okay, fine, we'll do it too, I thought, yeah, because you want balance, you want neutrality, you don't want, it's like when people show those maps of red and blue and they show it looks like the whole country's in red, they're showing land. If you show people, the clusters are blue, and this is why, Democrats won, like why they won Virginia. Some people say, oh, it's because lazy Republicans didn't go out and vote. That could be part of it. So this is a really, really interesting thing. But bottom line is, everyone needs to go vote, and I'm not just talking about Halifax County, the whole state. I've said this before in a podcast. In Australia, I used to live there. I've lived lots of places. In Australia, they have compulsory voting. You have to vote. It's the law. If you don't, you get fined. I always thought that was a great idea because it would motivate people to, maybe that's what I meant, money as a motivator. But it would motivate people to get out and vote, because if you don't vote, you get fined. Very few people don't vote. I mean, they get like a 98, 99% voting rate in Australia. So they know what their people want. Now, there's also the piece that the voter needs to be educated. If they're not educated, if they just vote for somebody because they're a certain political party, then how educated is that? But Australia also it's not a 2-party system. Like England, they're a multi-party system. So you have choices, like when we used to have multiple phone companies, you could choose. I don't like this company. Their service sucks. I've got Xfinity. I got Comcast. I don't like them. They suck. Where else do I go? I don't have much of a choice. Now there's Brightspeed, but I'm stuck with a contract, so I have to wait. But I've not heard great things about Brightspeed. But the point is, you have a choice. So I'm encouraging everybody to vote. April 21st. I don't think I forgot to ask Heather. I don't think you can early vote this. I think you actually just have to go. I'll have to ask her and follow up on that. But whatever, you can call her and ask her, But the special election is being held Tuesday the 21st. There's one question, and it's about amending the Constitution to allow the map drawing authority to to give it back to the legislators so that they can redraw the maps for the midterms. So there you go. I hope I explained that was a little bit clear. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. I can predict what Halifax County will do, but I do believe it's not going to be what the state does. And that's my 2 cents, and I'm throwing it in the pot and buying. Well, shit, you can't buy anything for 2 cents anymore, can you? I haven't done a price check lately. I'll do that probably on the next podcast. How long have I been on here? I don't even know. It's probably long enough to bore people. And let's see, coming up, lots of things, as always. I've got some things that keep getting delayed. Ryland Clark. Judge Cunningham. That I'd really like to get those underway, and I'd like more of these commissioners to return my calls or answer yes when I ask for interviews, because people really like those. And I've got a lot of free time in the next 2 days that I'm going to get out here to our communities and do some more Johnny on the spot, man on the street type things, because I enjoy those the most, and I get a lot of feedback on those, which is cool. So be good to each other. Don't be judgy. Stay warm. Take care of your health, and be good.